Oh, sorry. Hello and welcome to the English Matura Express, the express to your success. My name is Maria and today we have two demonstration exams for you about environment and pollution. Hello and welcome back to the Matura Express. As I've already mentioned, today we have two demonstrations exams for you. The first one is about global warming, so let's have a look at it. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so that's a demonstration exam. I think you all know what a demonstration or what an exam is, but let's go through the three parts of it again. So part one is the introduction, which is kind of always the same. So you have to talk about, okay, what you did before, why you're here today, and why you want to take the A-levels. So is there a reason? Do you want to have more opportunities? Is there a job you would like to start where you need the A-levels? So think about it, but don't be surprised if there are some questions in between. So that's completely normal. So don't really learn it by heart. Try to be flexible, but of course, think about what you want to say. And for example, if you had a job with I don't know, if you worked at whatever, TÜV or something like that, think about, okay, how you can say that in English. Good. Then we have task one. So the monologue. In this case, it's about, as I've already mentioned, global warming. So there is a situation, as always, and you have to get into this situation. So you have to think, okay, who am I? To whom am I'm going to talk, and about what? What's the topic? What's the subject of my speech, presentation, whatever. So let's have a look. You are a concerned environmental scientist and have been invited to a radio show to inform the public about the impacts of global warming. Okay, so it's a radio show and you are a scientist. So you are an expert on this field. I'm sorry. Good. So you give a brief introductory talk and then you talk about what causes global warming, okay, the effects of global warming and measures to reduce global warming. So how can this problem of global warming be tackled? I think that's pretty straightforward, and you've learned about global warming in your class, in your lessons. And I also think it's a very recent topic. I don't know if you know it, but on Friday there is going to be a strike. Maybe you've heard it in the media, in the news. This Swedish teenager, her name is Greta Thunberg. She's from Sweden, and yeah, she's a very young climate activist. And there is going to be a strike. So if you go to school, you don't have to go to school on Friday. But of course, only if you really go for a demonstration or on a strike. Otherwise, stay at school. Good. But anyways, yeah, probably not at school. Anyways, then there is this task 2, which is the dialogue. And this dialogue task is about the carbon footprint. Also a topic you should be familiar with. You talk about about the carbon footprint, and you have an article below. There is the link below. Here it is, yeah. So you can have a look at this article. I think it's very interesting. It's on how to reduce your carbon footprint. And of course, you should read it, take some notes, filter out the important information, and include it, of course, in your speech. But also your knowledge that you have about the carbon footprint, because as I've already mentioned, you dealt with it in the class. Good. And then there is the last part. So actually there are 4 parts in the oral exam, but of course we talk about 2 main parts. So we have the monologue and the dialogue, but then we have like an intro and an outro. The outro is like the follow-up discussion. So there the examination board is going to ask you some questions, or you are going to ask them some questions. So maybe in your preparation time, think about a good question to ask, yeah? Okay, so that's it. Chris, are you ready for the first exam?
Yes, I'm super ready.
That's great.
I'm gonna come into the picture in a minute. I just need to prepare myself. Since I'm quite nervous, of course, since it's an oral exam, not only a written exam.
It's a real oral exam.
I hope you can see us perfectly. Yeah.
I think so. Okay.
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Okay. So can you please introduce yourself briefly? Just tell us what you did before and why you're here today to take the A-levels.
Yeah. Before I decided to do the A-levels here at the VV, I was a mechanic.
Okay. And what's your name? Sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm Chris.
Okay.
Chris.
Okay. Hi, Chris.
Yeah. Hello.
And you worked as a mechanic.
Mechanic, yeah. And a bike shop.
Okay.
Actually, not a car mechanic. I was a bicycle mechanic.
And did you like your job?
Yeah, I really liked it. But I needed something new and challenging. And then I decided to do the A-levels, and I really don't know what to do afterwards. I think I'm going back to my old job, but I just want to do the A-levels and to
have more opportunities, or maybe you want to study later.
Yes, maybe, yeah. I don't know which subject, but yeah.
Thank you. So now let's move on to part 1, the monologue.
Yes. Okay, dear ladies and gentlemen, today I'm gonna talk about global warming, a very current topic and very highly discussed topic nowadays. And well, this topic concerns everyone, I think. And I'm gonna just start with the outline. Today I'm gonna talk about the causes of global warming, the effects of global warming, and measures, to reduce global warming. So, what causes global warming? Basically, there is the atmosphere, and imagine the atmosphere is just a thin layer. If we emit gases like CO2, carbon dioxide, or methane, yes, this layer thickens, which prevents the rays from the sun from going through the layer. So normally the atmosphere also reflects the sun rays, but it also the gases cause a more dense layer, so they cause a warming on the Earth's surface. The effects of global warming are actually, there is a thing called greenhouse effect, which is basically the thing I just explained. So think about, you're just sitting in a greenhouse, and think about that maybe somehow something heats this greenhouse, it gets through the layer of the greenhouse, then is reflected by the Earth's surface. For example, if there is a puddle or water, and then it goes to the roof of the greenhouse, and then it's reflected again, so it goes up and down, and it heats, of course, the room under the roof, and that's the greenhouse effect. One effect of global warming, basically, and of course, it's, well, I'd say the greenhouse effect is the umbrella term, I think. And yeah. Also, of course, there are things like different gases I talked about, like CO2, methane. So all the emissions from cars, buses, trains, traffic in general. Any different can't think of the term right now. Even ovens at home or something like this. And of course, huge factor is this is a major issue. And measures we can take to reduce global warming would be to decrease the amount of shipping, traffic, planes. So it all starts basically with yourself. If you think about just using maybe the train instead of the plane, or use the bicycle in a city instead of the car, it all helps to reduce CO2 emissions, which of course is linked then to reducing the global warming in general. Yes. Okay.
Thank you. So now let's move on to task 2, the carbon footprint. So can you just quickly tell me what the carbon footprint is?
Yes, of course. So as I've already told you, with the global warming thing we talked about I talked about before, we all somehow emit gases, not methane gases, but when we're taking the car, when we're taking the bus, when we're taking the plane, and so on. And for example, if every day we travel to work by car, we emit a certain amount of carbon dioxide gases and other gases, of course. And the carbon footprint is basically what we or how much carbon dioxide we emit in 1 week, a month, or a year.
Okay.
Basically, I think it's always calculated within a year, I think. I'm not sure. But it's basically the carbon dioxide we emit. So,
okay. And what do you think about the current situation? Is it like, does the Earth has, or the world have, a sustainable way of living, or is our carbon footprint too big, or what would you say?
Yeah, I think the individual and the collective carbon footprint is very high.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, you can also go on a website. I don't know what the address is, but go on the website and calculate your own carbon footprint, which is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And you have to make certain. It's like filling out a form or something.
Okay.
You have to mention how do you travel by. Do you travel by plane or train, or how do you get to work, and so on?
Okay.
But
in general, you would say it's too high or too big.
Too high. That's what I wanted to say, actually.
Sorry, yeah.
It's quite high, and it should, of course, be lower. And it again starts with the person. Or the individual, basically, where change can happen, basically.
Okay, so yeah, how can we kind of change that, or how can we reduce our carbon footprint? What would you say?
Yeah, taking for example the bike. If you're living in a city,
so like here in Innsbruck, that would be
it's really easy. Even if it's maybe it's raining, okay, then you might take the bus.
Yeah, but not the car.
Yeah,
maybe
not the car.
Also an
actually it's a big problem finding any parking slots.
Yeah,
so it's just a benefit using the bike, for example, or the bus. I'm really used to use the bike, so even if it's raining, so I don't care really. There is just have to use different clothes, so then
that's right,
it's no problem.
And do you think the government can do something about that as well, about the carbon footprint, or has to do something about that?
Yes, I think the government needs to invest in public transportation.
Yeah.
And make it more attractive for people. So almost to no delays with trains and buses, and
fair
prices. That's, I think, for a lot of people the big issue.
Yeah, but it's just too expensive.
And people need to have the opportunity to maybe park their cars somewhere and then from there go by train.
So maybe at the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
And then go by. So maybe, we could like ban all the cars in the city. I mean, that's a little bit drastical, but yeah. Yeah,
there are actually, of course, programs or thing that cities that already banned cars in typical
I think
places.
Faust did that. Was it Faust? I think they have a metro station.
Yeah, they have a metro station because it's so tight in there. So.
Okay, thanks a lot. That's it. Okay, so now let's have a look. Good. The introduction, the self-introduction. Yeah, I would start with the name. So like, hi, my name is Chris, and then just go on. But otherwise, it was perfectly fine. I asked some questions in between, but he was able to interact with me, which is good because interaction is one part of the things you have to know. And when talking in a language or in English, for example. Then let's go on to the monologue. So he talked about what causes global warming. But before that, he even gave a good introduction to the whole monologue, because he also he pointed to the purpose of his presentation, so that it's a really highly discussed topic and very important to discuss, and that's very good because I mean, of course, you are talking because you are in an A-level situation, but try to really get into the situation. I think it helps you. At least I think it helps. It helps me a lot. Good. Then the first point was what causes global warming. He scientifically explained that. Very impressive. So he had a lot of factual knowledge in English, and he was able to elaborate on these. So good, well done, yeah. And then number 2, the effects of global warming. I mean, he mentioned greenhouse effect, which is very important, but maybe you can also add, because then he more like talked about the causes again, so like the emissions. So you can also, try to, when talking about the effects, you can also include things like, okay, glaciers are melting, ice is melting, we have strong weather fluctuations, so the weather is changing constantly, maybe some species are dying out, so effects like, okay, what are the problems now? So is it just a little bit warmer? That would be nice, but of course not. There are many effects, so like weather catastrophes and so on. So that was missing a little bit. Then number 3, the measures to reduce global warming. Again, here he gave loads of examples. Yeah, good. Then there was part 2, the dialogue. Again, he was able to answer the questions. He talked about the carbon footprint. He was also able to answer my in-between questions. So when I added something, he was able to again taking the initiative afterwards. So it was a very active dialogue, and that's important, although it is a dialogue, so there should be some talking of the interlocutor, of course, but you should have the active role, so you should really get talking, and he did that really well. So I'd say let's move on to the next demonstration exam, because as I've already mentioned, we have not only one demonstration exam, we have 2. It's again about environment and pollution, but now there's the focus on, just wait a minute, alternative forms of energy. Okay, again, introduction, we know what to do, say your name and introduce yourself a little bit. Then we have the monologue. Being a volunteer for a well-known environmental protection organization, you are currently taking part in a project in which young activists exchange news and their own views on the environment. So again, you are some sort of expert. I mean, you're a volunteer, but you are very, I'd say, ambitious, because you take part in those meetings. And here it is probably a kind of international meeting because you speak in English, but yeah, it's taking part in Vienna. So there is a meeting of all participants in Vienna. So that's the situation. And so give a brief introductory talk to your listeners about alternative forms of energy. Talk about different forms of alternative energy. So there are some like wind energy, solar, and so on. Then we have the pros and cons of alternative forms of energy. And then a very, I think, interesting question. So what's the energy situation in Tyrol? So what kind of energies do we use? Do we use a lot of renewable energies? I mean, what is here? We don't really have, I think, a lot of wind power. I mean, not in Tyrol, but maybe in other parts of Austria we have. So that's, I think, very important. But what's the situation in Tyrol? So good. Then we have task 2. Again, surprise, a dialogue. And it's about a green lifestyle. So which is, you are not an alien. No, you have an eco-friendly lifestyle. Okay, so you talk about an eco-friendly lifestyle, and you have an article that helps you and that gives you some more information on it. We need a sustainability movement to make green living the norm. That's the title of the article. So have a look at it. Here's the link. Yeah, good. So that's it. Chris, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you?
I'm ready.
Or do you need 1 more minute?
No, I just have to switch. No. Okay.
Here we are.
Sorry for this technical issue here. Of course, our stream is not finished yet, but
we have a new streaming room, so it's a little tricky, but it looks nice.
No, I don't want that. I'm gonna quickly switch back to you and try to. No. Unfortunately, doesn't work.
Next time it will. So
let's try something different.
Yeah.
No, doesn't work.
Okay, just. I think we can skip the self-introduction part. Or do you want to introduce yourself again?
No, it's okay.
So now, please, let's move on to task 1.
Yes, task 1. Today, so I have to first Dear
No
ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christoph, and today I'm going to talk about alternative forms of energy. I'm gonna start with the different forms of alternative energy, then the pros and cons of alternative forms of energy, and then the energy situation in Tyrol. So there are different forms of alternative energy. There is not just solar power or photovoltaic power. There is also biomass, for example. There is wind power, there is hydropower. There is even some kind of can't remember the term.
Fracking?
No, fracking is not an alternative. Can't remember it, but it has something to do with gas turbines. So it's a very alternative concept by using the methane that cows produce to not emit it into the atmosphere. But it's a very alternative, not one of the traditional forms of alternative energies. Yeah, but basically those that I've mentioned are the most common. Of course, there is also something like, for example, if we take a look, or if we take a closer look to Iceland, they use a lot of the warm streams or warm water, basically natural heating basically from the earth, lead this into gas turbines and create electricity and energy, of course. So the pros and cons, I think there are a lot of pros, but I try to mention also cons. If we take, for example, pros for wind energy, it is there are no CO2 emissions. Of course, there were CO2 emissions when this thing was produced, this machine. The con might be it's very expensive, and that's a con that's almost with every alternative energy form. They are quite expensive, and somehow they do make some problems, especially nature or animals, birds, for example. Or if we take a look at hydropower or hydropower plants, they have some issues, often some issues with fishes, or a almost extinct species of birds or something that can't live in their habitat anymore. So there are cons too, but the pros, of course, are that there are almost to no gases that are emitted, and I think that's the best pro one can have. So, and in Tyrol, as I've mentioned beforehand, hydropower is a really big thing, and I think we're doing a good job by using hydropower in this region where we live in. And yeah, there are, of course, photovoltaic and solar is also an option depending on the region in Tyrol, since not every region has a high amount of sun. Yes, but those are basically the forms in Tyrol which you can use quite efficient. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the second part, which is the dialogue. So it's about a green, eco-friendly lifestyle. So what is a green, eco-friendly lifestyle? So how would you describe it?
Yeah, basically a green, eco-friendly lifestyle. There are several aspects in this term. I think eco-friendly lifestyle is the umbrella term, and there are different aspects that go with this term. For example, eco-friendly is if you're really thinking about how to get from one place to another, and it's not a obvious thing for you to use the car, and you're maybe thinking about how to travel, so concerning your holidays, not taking the plane, or eco-friendlies are also all about maybe not just eating everything you find in a grocery store, but also being aware of where the products come from.
So
if there
try
are
to use seasonal or like local food.
Yeah.
Locally.
Exactly, so that there, of course, there is always a big amount of CO2 emissions connected with, for example, vegetables from South America.
So you would say, like, when talking about vegetables, that being vegan is an eco-friendly lifestyle? What would you say?
Yes,
Do you agree? Or?
basically. But it depends. Vegan lifestyle is one of the most eco-friendly lifestyles.
But what about if you get, I mean, we are in Tyrol now, when you get, I don't know, when you eat like 5 avocados, I mean, that's probably not really eco-friendly, is it?
Exactly. That's where it also kind of gets not that eco-friendly anymore. But compared to the meat normal carnivores, we all are, almost all are, it is still eco-friendly. But of course, avocado is a special thing, or a special aspect we could lecture 15 hours about, I think.
So but maybe it's, even if you're a vegan, it's good to have a look, okay, where the product is from. So like,
yeah, where it was produced, and that's always the thing, the most important thing when you're trying to be somehow eco-friendly with your eating habits.
So do you think there is some sort of social stigma to a green lifestyle? So like they don't shave their legs, or anyway, something like that. Do you think there is a stigma, and is there anything one could do about it? Or what do you think about that?
I think there is some stigma. There is definitely bias that someone who lives an eco-friendly lifestyle is associated with being a hippie or something, but that's just a different time. Of course, the hippies back then, they followed an eco-friendly lifestyle, or tried to be. But I think that's something different. The world has changed, unfortunately, talking about global warming and all this stuff. And therefore, living an eco-friendly lifestyle has still its bias from people that don't understand it, or don't want to be restricted in anything, or, well, I can't understand it. But of course there is some bias, but there shouldn't be bias anymore, since we have to take care of this round ball we like to call our planet.
That's right, yeah. So do you think there is anything that marketing could do to kind of change this image we have, or what do you think there could be something done about it? Because I was thinking, like, okay, maybe when you put all the organic food, or the bio food like into the regular shelves, maybe then it's not something like ooh green lifestyle, but it's more like common and normal. Maybe that could help. So just make it normal. Do you think that would work? Or
I think there could be some things or some marketing or
so kind of make it mainstream
advertisement we could work on, but it's really difficult to convince people if politicians try to convince people of the opposite.
Yeah, that's of course right.
So I think politics or politicians are the ones who need to start influencing our society and preaching an eco-friendly lifestyle, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Since those are the lawmakers, and
that makes sense. So you think that's what the government could do about that, to
of course,
to make laws or to and
if we stopped thinking about immigrants and maybe started caring about our planet, then
but probably that's a too complex topic for them to deal with. But anyways, we're not going to talk about the political situation here. So that's right. So you talked about the government, and so what can we do as individuals? Maybe
start being a bit more careful with shopping, general online shopping. Maybe think about buying local vegetables, any groceries. Try to use the plane as less possible. Use the bike, train, and
okay, thank you for it.
You're welcome.
Good, so that's it. So now let's talk about it a little bit, and then we're good to go, I think. So again, task 1, I ticked it. So each point, so it was perfectly fine. He started off with a good introduction again, with a good intro. Then he mentioned them all, so a lot of different forms of alternative energies, which is good. He even gave some examples about Iceland, which is also great. So if you have some examples, more specific examples, use them. Then part 2, the pros and the cons. Again, he talked about emissions, CO2 emissions. He talked about the con of being expensive. So in the long run, not, but at first, if you have to build it, it's quite expensive, of course. And attention, it's fish. The plural of fish is fish, not fishes, but otherwise it was perfectly fine. Then in number 3, the energy situation in Tyrol. He also talked about different areas, which is also very good to do. So Tyrol is not Tyrol. There are some parts, different parts, and they use different forms of energies and so on. He kind of forgot about give a nice conclusion, or not really a conclusion, but kind of an outro. So I think that's very important. Just like, thank you for your attention, or maybe let's go and buy some and use some alternative forms of energies. You can be creative, but just choose a nice ending to it to kind of wrap it up. Good, then now let's move on to the dialogue. Again, he gave some good examples. So he talked about the green lifestyle. He knew what it is, which is great. Umbrella term, a really good word, good vocabulary. Then he was also able to ask my questions, because I ask a lot of in-between questions, and he was still able to answer them. He was able to disagree, he was able to agree with me, so he had good wordings, good sayings for doing that. he also touched upon the difficult topic of, okay, what the government can do. And of course you can say something about politics. That's fine. It's an English exam. It is about your opinion, but it's important if you are able to, express your opinion in English. If it's a not so popular opinion, that's fine. I mean, not every unpopular opinion is fine, but you know what I mean. So you can, give away your thoughts as long as it is in English, in good and nice English. So that was great. We had a great discussion. I think it's a very interesting topic. Also the discussion about, okay, is being a vegan really eco-friendly? Because we talked about for example, one example is the avocado. Of course, there aren't any avocados in Austria, or not that I know. Maybe on some balconies they have some avocados, but anyways, they have to be imported, and that again creates a lot of CO2 emissions, as we all know. So buying things locally, food and groceries locally, is probably the better solution for that. But still, cutting meat is good as well. So, but inform yourself about this topic. I think it's very interesting because it's about our planet, and we only have one planet at the moment. And I think there won't be, but I don't know. Anyways, we have to take care of it. So get some information on that. I think it's really worth knowing. And maybe also have a look at the speeches of Greta Thunberg. She's very popular at the moment. She is a climate activist, and there is a strike. There's going to be a strike on Friday, so maybe you take part in it, as I've already mentioned in the beginning of the video. And that's about it. That was our stream for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just please let us know. Write it in the comments. Maybe tell us, what do you think? Do you think that being vegan is living an eco-friendly life? Is it an eco-friendly lifestyle or not? So what are your eating habits, and do you think you live an eco-friendly lifestyle, a green lifestyle? What do you think of that? Or are you an alien? So green lifestyle? Bad joke. Anyways, that's it. Thanks, and we see us on Wednesday. Bye bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye bye.